To this point, we've talked a lot about how we shouldn't do certain things. We've talked about religion and tradition, and we've shown examples of why we shouldn't be doing the things that we do in regards to church, the church life. But in America, we have a saying. So we have two political parties, and whichever political party is in power, they are the ones that are trying to set the agenda. They are trying to put forward their ideas. And the minority party, they often will call it the party of no, because they are only there to oppose the majority party. So we need to avoid being the people of no. We can't just fight and say, no, this isn't right, that's not right, that's not right. We have to provide real alternatives, real biblical alternatives. So we can't just be the people of no. And so, with that being said, I want to start by saying I'm under no illusion or no delusion that church as we know it is going away. No matter how much I point out the mistakes, the problems, no matter how much anybody points out what's wrong, it will be there. And it's going to be the focus of most Christians' life, no matter if that's right or wrong, no matter if that's biblical or unbiblical, because people, and I'm not condemning them, but people have their belief. And in this case, their belief is more in tradition than it is in biblical principles. So for them to turn their back on their tradition, their religion, makes them feel like traitors. So we need to just understand some things here. First, we need to understand that most people go to church out of an honest desire to learn and grow closer to God. At least I would like to believe so. I'm not going to say that these people are bad because they're going to church because they think that's what a Christian should do to learn about God. So instead of just writing this off, I've said before in past messages, throw it all in the trash. The whole church mindset. Throw it all in the trash. And I mean that. But we have to be realistic as well. Most people aren't going to do that, even if it is the right thing to do. So how do we reach these people? How do we become the people of yes? How do we become the people who present alternative ideas that excite? Instead of just saying, no, this is wrong, how do we become the people who present something that's exciting and new and will energize people? So my message throughout about the church has never been focused on true believers. There's true believers, and they go out there every single day, and they live the good news. Every single day, every meeting they have with friends, with neighbors, every experience they have with other people, they view these things as the assembling of the believers, as the means of following God. But these people, they also go to a service on Sunday. That's fine. I'm not focused on those people because they get it. They understand. What I'm focused on is the vast majority. The vast majority go to church maybe out of a honest desire to know God, but they go to church also because out of tradition. That's what you do on Sunday or Saturday, whenever. And so they do it. It's part of their tradition, following what their parents did, what their grandparents did. And so to reach these people, we have to not write off the church culture. We want to turn that majority who go to church on Sunday and the rest of the week they live however they want. We want to turn that majority into the minority who live the gospel, who live the good news, and who also go to service on Sunday. If we can help to move that majority towards how the minority live, then we've taken a huge step. We've taken people who only go to church on Sunday out of tradition or out of, whatever their reason, whether good or bad. There's many reasons, but if we can take that and turn it into honest believers who see everyday experiences as the assembling of the believers, who see every encounter with friends, with neighbors, every dinner shared as the assembling of the believers, and who go out and who teach and proclaim the good news, but then they also go to church service on Sunday. Then we've taken a huge step. And then at that point, we'd be ready to take the next step. And the next step would just be total focus without any human restraints. And I see the church culture as human restraints, limits on God by man. So first, we have to use what we have, and that is the church. We have to use what we have and try to move these people, the majority of people who go to church, move them in from the category of Sunday believers to everyday Christians. Everyday Christians. And I'm not just talking about people who read the Bible every day and who listen to worship music and say a little prayer to God every day. I'm talking about real believers who act, who are the pastor for their school or for their work, the evangelist for their group, for their friends. We need to take that majority of Sunday believers and move them into the category of real believers who act and live the good news. And once we do that, then we can deal more with the man-made restrictions. If we can get people to stop seeing Sunday service as the center of all Christian life and only an element, only a small element of our everyday life, then once we reach that point, then we can deal with what's left. We can deal with the little bit of human restraint on God that is left. So this is my message, that we should not just write off church as it is, but use it to start changing people's minds about their everyday life. And if we can change their minds and change their actions about their everyday life, then it's going to be easier to deal with what's left of our religion, of our tradition, of our church culture. We can deal with that more properly at that point. But that's our first step. We can't just say, no, church is bad, church is not biblical, church is only human restrictions, because that's what we have. That's what is here. So we need to use what we have, what is here, to promote a fuller Christian life. And once more and more people embrace that fuller Christian life, then we can start dealing with the rest of it.